Good evening. Welcome to the Kenmore-Tonawanda Union Free School Board meeting for March 9th, 2021. District Clerk, please note that all trustees are present. Before we begin, I just want to apologize for not being there in person this evening. I learned yesterday that this past weekend I may have come in close contact with someone that tested positive for COVID. He was tested yesterday. So I'm following the quarantining guidelines, and although I haven't had any symptoms or anything, we're doing this part of it remotely, so my apologies. Our Pledge of Allegiance this evening, if you want to rise for the pledge, our Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Franklin Middle School students by a video recording, and then please remain standing for our national anthem, which will be conducted by the Kenmore East Orchestra, Cohort B, by a recording.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you to our Franklin Middle and Kenmore students for that. It was great. Our Kendall Brock, our Board of Education rep from Kenmore West, will read our district's mission statement, vision statement, and values.
Our board and district vision is to be a community that creates dynamic learners who possess social awareness, confidence, and a belief in their power to succeed. Our values are mutual respect, independence, trust, teamwork, integrity, passion for excellence, and responsibility.
Thank you, Kendall. All right, moving on to item 4A is the approval of our agenda. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved, Leslie.
So moved by Leslie.
Second by Jen.
Second by Jen. Any discussion? Okay, there being none, I call for a vote. All those in favor still signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried unanimously. 4B is the approval of the minutes from the February 9th, 2021 regular Board of Ed meeting. Do I have a motion to approve? So moved by Tom.
Second, Andrew.
Second by Andrew. Any discussion? Okay, there being none, I call for a vote. All those in favor, so signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried unanimously. And then item 4C is the approval of the minutes from the March 2nd, 2021 budget work session. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved, Leslie.
So moved by Leslie,
Second, Andrew.
second by Andrew. Any discussion? Okay, there being none, I call for a vote. All those in favor, so signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Okay, item 5 is our school recognitions. I'll turn this part over to Superintendent Samato.
Thank you, President Chimera. And good evening, everyone. Good evening, Board of Education, and good evening to all of our guests that are here with us tonight. So we have a couple schools that we're going to go through recognitions with tonight. I just want to go over some procedures because things are a little bit different, okay? So as we do our recognition, and then our schools will do, of course, their presentation. First, we'll do the recognition, and I'll call the individual up to the front, and then they can come up. I'll read the piece about the individual, and then I will point to so that they can take a T-shirt and their certificate from our board and from myself, and then we'll take a picture. I know it's a little weird during COVID times, everyone, so just bear with us, but that brown chair is there so that the recipient can have a seat, and our board president, I don't think we can bring him over for the picture today, but maybe we can take a long shot and and then we'll take a picture, and then family of the recipient can also come up and take a picture with that individual. So, good. What's that? Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Okay, so good evening once again, and we are starting with Franklin Middle School is first tonight, and I would like to call up our student honoree, Sean Hamilton. Let's give Sean a round of applause. Sean is an exemplary 7th grade student, an active participant in classes. He turns in his work on time, is appropriately sociable, and cares for his peers. Not only is Sean responsible for his schoolwork, but he also maintains excellent grades while being a student athlete. He is a source of joy. He works hard, challenges himself, and is a friend to all. He is the epitome of a Falcon. Let's give Sean another round of applause. And let's have you have a seat right here. Thank you so much, folks. Let's give Sean another round of applause. Once again, don't let my wife see me doing this, because that means I know how to. And she'll hold me accountable at home. Yeah. Our next honoree for this evening is Miss and Diane, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. Is it Weil? Okay, Weil. Thank you very much. Miss Diane Weil. Nurse Diane Weil has had an unprecedented year being a school nurse during a pandemic. She is dedicated, caring, and a professional with 20 years of service to our district. She supports not only the students and families of FMS, but the staff as well. Her job and duties during reopening and the day-to-day activities have increased exponentially, and she has been the backbone of our building, helping us all get through it. Thank you, Diane, for going above and beyond for all of our students and staff. And I could just tell you from personal experience, you are absolutely the heart of Franklin. So, wonderful job. Let's give Diane another round of applause. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Only if we could take a picture. Excellent job. Thank you, Nurse Diane. And our next honoree, Ruth Ann Daly. Ruth Ann is dedicated and hardworking. During her 21 years of service in Kenton, she continues to give every ounce of herself and her time to help students. She works so hard to make her lessons engaging and interactive. She is patient with struggling learners and gives challenges for those who excel. She sets very high expectations. She has driven to students' homes, dropping off materials for Virtual Learning Academy learners. She calls homes to check up on students who are absent or who may not be engaged. She has a huge heart and loves her job. Let's give Ruth Ann another round of applause. Thank you, Ruth Ann. And now I will turn it over to Mr. Ginestri and his team for the Franklin presentation.
I made the same mistake once of making tacos at home, and now I'm the one that does all the cooking. So I completely understand where you're coming from there. On behalf of the students, the staff, as well as Mr. Michael Haggerty, our assistant principal, and myself, I'd like to thank the Board of Education for the opportunity to speak to you tonight and to present an absolutely terrific program to you. Our Franklin Middle School technology program. Okay, and it's as you all know, it's been a year in which we've had to make a lot of adaptations to how we instruct kids, to how we connect with kids. Okay, and the reason why we're presenting technology tonight is because the two gentlemen behind me who represent our technology department have made absolutely incredible connections with students who are both at school and at home. Okay, and you're going to see from their presentation tonight the innovative thinking that went into their instruction, and how that innovative thinking that went into their instruction actually inspired our students to also create very innovative projects that in many cases they wouldn't be able to create if they were even at school. So at home they were able to have the materials that they wouldn't necessarily have been able to bring to school with them in order to create absolutely amazing technology projects. Okay, so I'm gonna first, we'll flip the slide. And I just want to just explain a couple of things about our technology program in general. There we go. One of the greatest benefits of having fifth graders in a middle school is that we are one of the few middle school programs in our area and in New York State even that offers technology education to fifth grade students. All of our students in grades 5 through 12 have the opportunity to take technology and to work their way up through our program. And through our program, we've been able to inspire and develop some really great thinkers that are made their way up through Kenmore East, and in the case of the Hoover Middle School, have made their way up through Kenmore West, who have participated in such great projects that we have, like Project Lead the Way. So after we're done presenting here tonight, you're going to also have a presentation from Kenmore East, where we're going to tell you how we create the foundation here of great technology education at Franklin Middle, but you're going to see how that develops with our high school students up through Kenmore East. So all of our students, grades 5 through 7, take technology at Franklin Middle School for every other day for 20 weeks. Okay, and one of the benefits that I could say from our technology program, and the best benefit of it, is that it creates opportunities for students to become 21st century learners. Many of the jobs that our students, that you'll hear this quite a bit, that many of the jobs that our students are going to be eligible for when they graduate from high school and eventually from college and beyond, they are not even invented yet. So the skills that we want to develop with students are that collaborative, critical thinking, okay, and creativity. All of these are heavily stressed within our technology program. Okay, so I've done enough talking here, and so I would like to just turn over our presentation to Mr. Joseph Stwisik, who will demonstrate to you what our students are doing and give you some more insights into the program that our students take at Franklin Middle School. Mr. Stwisik.
Well, we decided that we would rather than tell you what we do, we'll show you what we've done. So we have a little video. We'll show the video, and then if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer anything that you guys have. Okay? Will they do it? Okay. I'm Mr. Stwisik. I want to welcome you to Franklin Middle School Technology Education Program. It would be very difficult to highlight our program in a short video, but I would like to tell you that it's fun, it's creative, it's critical thinking. Oh yeah, and did I mention fun? Take a look for yourself.
Oh, it's going up bottom a little bit. Here comes another truck. 45. 55. Oh, shh. Here. Listen now. Not doing nothing. Oh, look at it.
Technology uses math and science to make things.
Hi there, I'm Mr. Franchini. We've been working with these 3D printers this whole year, and since the pandemic hit, our students decided how can we contribute to the pandemic. So what we saw them doing was they were making 3D parts for the pandemic, for 3D mask frames, 3D parts for ventilators. So we got our students to collaborate on seeing what we could make. So we started designing things on paper first. We do a sketch, we draw it on AutoCAD. We take our AutoCAD drawings, we plot them out to our 3D printers, and then we would be adding our plastic shields to these, and we were coming up with ideas to contribute to help people with this pandemic that we're in.
Technology promotes creative thinking.
We gotta capture the control and bring it back to the castle! Everybody? Ready, march! Set! Go, go! Bro, look at you!
I don't know how to turn it! Bailey, go to the camera. What are you doing? I'm stuck. I'm on my way. Oh! Hi, I'm Daniel Ryder, and this is my catapult. We're using these Nerf rival balls here to shoot the chute. And then we're using one rubber band to start, and a bamboo skewer as a pivot point. And then these, we laminated some like cardboard to make it stronger. And then we have these as like support. And then we have, okay, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So with one rubber band, it will go that far in the laundry basket.
What is that?
Cantaloupe.
What are we going to use to feed the deer?
We're gonna use a carport.
Okay. All right. Let's go do this. Woo! What do you think? That's dessert for deer.
Yes.
Okay, so my red folder, first it has a spring and you press this button and it makes the ball launch off, which is a pulley, and it will make this, I think this counts as a lever with a fulcrum, and it launches the ball, goes down an inclined plane through a funnel. Then there's a wheel and axle with a Jenga block on top, and that knocks over the other ones, pushing my parallel linkage, which then makes a wedge, push apart two Jenga blocks, knocking over water into a container lid.
Hi, my name is Madison Kopek, and this is my Rube Goldberg. At the end, it'll put a bow on a present.
Hi, this is my project for the Rube Goldberg machine. Now, obviously, if I touch anything, it's going to go off and my day is going to be ruined. But I've also saved up like 1,000 hours on this thing. It looks really stupid, but I think it's going to look cool. So over here, we have our screw, a rotary motion, inclined plane, linkage, parallel linkage, dominoes, pulley, and then there's the chute with the stopper that pulls it up, and then comes down here. We have a baking soda vinegar volcano. How cliche. And I have some palm trees now, and some dinosaurs. It's dinosaur themed.
Hey guys, have you noticed that this volcano's been very active lately?
Yeah, what's up with that, dude?
Well, I got this volcano stopper over at Costco. It doesn't seem to be working, but I guess I'll give it another shot.
Did I say it was fun? You know, thank you. It's also during these times it's not just getting them to think and build stuff at home, but how do you hand something like that in? You know, so all that has to be taught, and how they can send in digital stuff and how to take a little video clip. It's just been absolutely, you know, in times like this, I've had some of the best projects I've ever had. And a lot of kids told me they really enjoyed time with their family, you know, working with Grandpa in the garage. There was a lot of unexpected things that happened, and it's just really cool time. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I really do appreciate giving us time for us to show you this, because it's a lot of fun. I like other people to see it, so thank you. All right, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you again. Thank you again for the opportunity. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Genestrian, Mr. Stuzek, and Franchini. Thank you. Wonderful job, Franklin. Does Matt want me to, or does he? He'll do it. Okay. Back over to you, Mr. President.
I just want to say, you know, many years ago I had the opportunity when I was mentoring to work with Mr. Stewizek, and I knew that every day that I went to his classroom, it was going to be fun. You know, he's been that way since his very first days here as a teacher, and he continues to be that way. So, nice job with the presentation and the Franklin kids. We're going to take a 5-minute recess so we can welcome our Kenmore East honorees in this evening and let them come in. So we'll be back in 5. Yeah, you got to move that one over just a little bit. Okay, are we about ready? Are we ready to go?
We are, sir.
Okay. All right, so Mr. Samato, we have Kenmore East next, I believe.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, President Chimera. And for our next presentation of the evening, and folks, thanks for also really, these schools have worked very hard on not only their recognitions, but their presentations. I know that we're playing a little bit of catch up this year with doing multiple presentations in a night. But once again, everyone has worked so hard and they continue to work hard. So our next school that we're going to recognize for this evening is Kenmore East. So just to go over how this is going to go for our Kenmore East friends, just like it went for Franklin, I'll go up to the front and we'll go through the recognitions first. Then Mr. Hayden, I know I just saw Mr. There he is. Mr. Hayden, I'll turn it over to you and your team for the school presentation. For the everyone, when I call you up front, I won't hand you your certificate and t-shirt. I'll just point to where yours is. If you're a recipient, you could take it from there. Also, as I'm reading off the piece about you, you can stand up there. It's a little bit awkward, but just kind of work with me. And then once we're done doing that, we'll give you a round of applause. You can have a seat in the chair. Mr. Finelli will take a picture. If you have any family with you at that time, then after that picture, the family can come up. We'll take a picture with you and your family, and then we'll move on to the rest of our presentation. Make sense? Okay, wonderful. So once again, our next school that we are here to recognize tonight is Kenmore East High School. And our first recognition from Kenmore East, Rachel Vitko. Let's give Rachel a round of applause. Rachel, my mask doesn't fit right. I'm sorry. Rachel Vitko is a senior at Kenmore East High School. She is a member of the Kenmore East Principals Council, as well as a stellar and involved musician, actor, and student. For her recognition this evening, Kenmore East has chosen to read a bit of just a piece, an excerpt from a college recommendation letter from her counselor, Mr. Vogt. His words so perfectly sum up the young woman who is Rachel Vitko. So, recommendation from Mr. Vogt. I admit, my first impression of Rachel Vitko could not have been more inaccurate. I knew that she was academically gifted and very motivated learner, but that was true then, as it remains now, easily verified by her current 97.64 GPA, which places her 9th in the graduating class. I knew that there were not enough class periods in the school day to accommodate her 10-plus course schedule requests. With discipline and interest across curriculum, she would need 15 periods to cover all of those courses. Questions from me seemed to elicit a panicked response. It would be tough to connect with her, but there was something fun under that panic that made me curious. Mr. Vogt persisted. He had the pleasure of guest teaching her college classes, her college career and finance classes, and then seeing her on stage in the play Almost Maine. Rachel played a strong-willed character. A few weeks after, she auditioned for the musical Where I Serve as the Director and belted out her song. In my joyful experience with her since that audition, I have come to know Rachel as a woman of strength and intelligent wit, and a hearty laugh that is truly contagious. She was first to raise a hand with a question in class and last to leave a rehearsal for the musical, thanking her teachers and directors on the way out. Rachel sets the bar high and with magnetic force pulls everyone else along for the ride with no hint of arrogance. She leads with empathy and humility, naturally encouraging those around while pushing herself outside of her comfort zone. She is as comfortable offering to tutor a classmate in economics as she is creating a character role model in a musical. Watching her evolution unfold, I have come to realize that Rachel learns as much from people around her as they learn from her. Through this incredibly dynamic reciprocity, coupled with a positive zest for life, Rachel Vitko has established a space all her own outside the box that is far more interesting than any place the box could offer. Once again, congratulations from the entire Kenmore East family as shared by Mr. Vogt. Let's give Rachel a round of applause. Our next recipient is Julie Miller. Kenmore East is very happy that Julie is being honored for her exemplary service to our staff and students. During this challenging school year, Julie has been asked to go above and beyond what a school nurse usually has to do. And of course, she has always performed her job perfectly without complaint. While students and staff health, safety, and welfare are always at the forefront of Julie's high standards, this year has put her to the test, and she has flourished under trying circumstances. Julie is extremely detail-orientated. Teresa Patterson says, "I joke when I refer to her as by-the-book Julie. She never cuts corners and always goes the extra mile as she strives for perfection." Teresa continues, "On a personal note, I feel very fortunate to have been able to go to work every day for the past 8 years and work with someone who has made going to work a great place to be." Julie embodies compassion, diligence, and forward thinking in the field of health science, and she is the perfect advocate for public health. During the pandemic, she offered training to her assistants at school, performed necessary testing of staff and students, and never missed a beat in the other facets of her job. And she always has a smile on her face. She has a calm and pleasant demeanor, and Kenmore East is fortunate to have her on staff. Once again, congratulations, Julie Miller.
you really are good at that.
Thank you, Mr. President. And our final recipient from Kenmore East is Jay Robbins. Jay is with us virtually. Jay, can you see us? Jay Robbins has a total of 31 years teaching experience in the area of physical education, including 26 in Kenton and 21 at Kenmore East. He has also taught at Jefferson, Hoover, and Kenmore West. He grew up down the street from Kenmore East. He attended Green Acres Elementary and Hoover Junior High before moving to Pittsburgh for high school. Returning to his hometown to teach physical education was the fulfillment of a lifelong dream. Jay graduated from Slippery Rock University and lived in Las Vegas for 10 years, right after the blizzard of '77, before returning to Buffalo. Besides being an outstanding educator in the field of physical education, Coach Robbins has dedicated his life working with student athletes. He has a total of 34 years coaching, 31 years at Kenmore East. Jay coached basketball for 28 years, golf for 23 years, and baseball for 9 years. Principal Patrick Hayden notes that regardless of the sport, Jay coached his student athletes in life. He was always there for them, regardless of their situations, and his balanced outlook on life benefited his students in ways they will never forget. Jay Robbins is a certified, and Jay, I hope I say all these correctly, Tai Chi and Qigong instructor through the Center of Tai Chi Studies of New York City and Dr. Yang Yang. He will continue these pursuits in retirement as well as focusing on the 4 Gs, grandkids, golfing, gardening, and Kung Fu. Jay Robbins is a wonderful human being, and he will be truly missed at Kenmore East. Once again, let's give a tremendous round of applause for Jay Robbins. Oh, so, Jay, I'm going to take a picture right next to you, okay? Jay, congratulations, Jay. And now I'll turn it over to Principal Hayden for the presentation from Kenmore East this evening.
Okay, thank you, Superintendent Shimato and the Board of Education. I just wanted to take a moment again. Rachel, Julie, Jay, you guys are so deserving of these honors, and I'm very proud to stand here tonight and to be in your company, or virtually in Jay's case, as this happened. So tonight's presentation, as Principal Genestri mentioned, will be the continuation of technology education in Kenton. And we have just an extraordinary program that was interesting for me as we were back in the cafeteria. We have several students who there's obviously was a height requirement for tonight's presentation. Maybe these tech kids should have built me a box or something to stand on while I was over here. But they were saying back there like, oh, I remember doing that. And it was interesting, like light bulbs were going off, memories of the times at Franklin where it all started. So I was kind of reflecting, waiting in the back room with the kids on how that foundation was established. And what is very interesting to me, I'm very proud of the teachers that I work with because they are so professional and so dedicated in the field of education that not only did they bring out several students, and as you can see, several students, the teachers actually found students who wanted to come and talk about technology beyond the walls of Kenmore East. So we have graduates here to talk about the foundation from a place like Franklin, and then the continuation of that at Kenmore East, and lo and behold, where they go from here. I was very intrigued by the notion that the teachers presented from Franklin, stating that It's problem solving, and it's teamwork, and all of the things that we will need in the next world. And I'm sure that our kids will discuss that with you tonight. I'm just so pleased to see them. And come on up, you guys. Let's hear what you have to say. There's going to be a pretty large crowd over here. And I will just say thank you again to our staff and students for coming out and presenting the wonders of technology. So here they are, the staff and students of Kenmore East High School and the continuation of technology.
Thank you. Where do you want me to stand? Hello, thank you. I want to thank you for inviting us to showcase the opportunities that technology education brings to Kenmore East. I'm Alex Zawarda, and tonight with me I have Robert Aldridge and Kevin Moyer. We are 3/5 of the technology department at Kenmore East. Due to capacity requirements, Tom Kaprevich and Cleet T-Paz got the night off tonight. So we're going to give you an overview of our program, followed by a few current and former students giving you a little bit about their experience with us. And at the end, if there's a little time, we'll open up to a little Q&A from the board or from Mr. Samato if there's time and you choose. So we as technology educators are extremely proud of the breadth of choices we offer students at Kenmore East. We know that here in Kenton, we have one of the most robust technology programs that you will find. We provide opportunities to our students that very few districts in the area and even the state provide. Along with offering a wide variety and array of classes, we offer 3 CTE academies, which stands for Career and Technical Education Academies, that give our students a serious leg up among their peers when they leave high school. We'll get into more detail on the CTE academies in a few minutes, but one of the major reasons we are able to provide the opportunities that we do at the high school level is because of our strong middle school program, as you just saw. We start students learning the fundamentals of design process, systems model, 3D modeling, 3D printing, and many other technological skills through grades 5 through 8 that allow them to accelerate when they get to high school and, well, really just do it, take off. They come to us very prepared from our middle school program. So, where am I pointing this? Okay, so first off, I'd like to say I think technology education is one of the most misunderstood disciplines in K-12 education. When I tell people I'm a high school technology teacher, most people think that means computers. But it's so much more than that. It's engineering, it's architecture, shop skills, industrial design, coding, networking, robotics, video production, and the list can keep going. You'll get a sense of all the topics and skills we cover in a few minutes. We'll do a quick slideshow through some of our classes. But fundamentally, whatever specific course it is, technology education is about problem solving, critical thinking, creative thinking, communication, and of course, technical skills and knowledge. Technology education has been teaching 21st century skills long before the term was educational jargon. So what do? We put the T and E in STEM. We put the technology and engineering into science, technology, engineering, and math. Essentially, we are problem solvers. That's what we do. Okay, getting back to the academies that we offer. As I mentioned, we offer CTE academies in Kenton. Being an academy member is like having a major in high school. Completion of the academies earns students a special CTE designation on their Advanced Regions Diploma that says to colleges, universities, and employers that the student is prepared above and beyond their peers. The CTE designation is not easy to earn, but carries meaningful credentials. We offer 2 academies wholly within our department, and we offer a 3rd that is a collaboration with business, between the business department and technology department. And there's a little bit about them, but. So some of the benefits of the academies provide college credit for a lot of the classes, work-based learning, a lot of field trips, internship possibilities, in-class presentations, integrated credit, meaning that some of the classes can count for science and math credits outside of the department elective credits, Regents Advanced Designation, and CTE, diploma endorsement. And we have a little video here, if you could hit play in the video for us. about our academies.
And I think that's a great offering that a lot of other school districts do not have.
I'm so impressed with some of the students and what they learn, what they are able to use. There's students all the time accessing all the technology that's in the building, from using an inventor to 3D printers to laser printers to plasma cutters.
And the students are gaining real life experiences and skills that are going to help them be competitive in the future.
Some of the students that I've seen in our engineering academy go through, and the projects that they are working on, the tools and equipment that they are able to use are exactly the same stuff that they use in manufacturing and in the jobs that they're going to get in the future.
It's certainly a great benefit for them to see that the work that I'm doing here at Kenmore East will have even greater value for me as I go on to college.
I think that some of the work being done here in the Kenton School District is quite different than a lot of other school districts. Just having these academies sets the district apart.
We've been told by different colleges that they're more prepared in the engineering aspects of it than just a regular students from other aspects of high school.
When students come from Kenton, we know that they already have a leg up because they're already prepared. They've already seen the equipment and they don't have a learning curve. So they are very prepared when they get to college.
There we go. Okay. So this is a list of courses that we teach at Kenmore East. You can see just from the size of the list alone that the breadth of our program is pretty extensive. I'm not going to walk through or talk through the entire list, but I do want to highlight some of the more unique opportunities that we offer, which includes AP Computer Science, which teaches coding and app development, and obviously is AP accredited, college accredited. We also offer the Cisco Computer Networking, which Cisco Networking 1 and 2, which is Cisco's internationally recognized CCNA curriculum that teaches students how to build and manage computer networks. This exact computer networking curriculum is offered at the college level around the world at places like ECC, RIT, I believe UB also, and like I said, this international, the students taking this here are taking the exact same curriculum that is taught all around the world. It's kind of pretty unique. In fact, we are one of a handful of school districts in the whole state that offer it at the high school level. We're also a Project Lead the Way school, offering a suite of Project Lead the Way pre-engineering classes, which are really preparing students for going on to engineering or technical fields in college, a 4-year degree after high school. Okay, if we could get the 10-second roll on the next. We're going to do a quick little slideshow of highlighting our classes here. I'm not going to talk through it. We've got some music. And after we get through that, our current and former students have a few things to say. We'll get to them after that. So, thank you. Music should play. And without further ado, we have 3 current seniors with us tonight, and we have 3 former students who are graduates at various levels in their post-high school careers. I'll go right down the list. We're going to start with Jaden Saika. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jaden, and I'm a Kenmore East class of 2021. And I just have a couple of words to say about the tech department. I wrote it down because I have a bad memory. My experience with the tech department has been amazing. The tech department has been my home inside of school. All the teachers are not only great at teaching technology, but at general life skills and discipline. I wish I had a bond with all my teachers the way I do with these tech teachers. I have always been technologically inclined, but the tech teachers always find new and interesting ways to push me. On the other hand, I didn't know what I wanted to do when I got out of school. And these technology teachers helped guide me and find my future path, which is cybersecurity. And one really cool thing that Mr. Aldridge did for me was there was a college who was doing a cybersecurity event, UB, and he actually signed a school up for the first time ever for this event, and he helped me get through it, which I thought was really cool. That's it.
Next up, we have Justice Ramsey.
Why do I gotta be short? Hi, my name's Justice Ramsey, class of 2021, and I'm gonna say some things about my experience with both the technology teachers and the technology classes. Before I came to high school, I already knew I wanted to be an engineer, but I didn't know what field of engineering I wanted to study in, which is where the whole technology program came and helped me know what I wanted to do. Like especially with all the classes I could take, all these options, and they also not just only helped me with technology, but like I was able to get some few credits for college, which is going to be really helpful in the future. But thanks to all these different programs like robotics and principles of engineering, and especially right now I'm taking EDD, which I'm enjoying a lot. And so, but now I know I want to be a robotic engineer in the future because of my experience in robotics class, which was really fun. And it was frustrating having to program the robot and it not working, but there's some enjoyment out of it that came from me finishing the project and me being able to see the robot move and do what I made it do, what I wanted it to do. And that was just the spark that I needed to be like, I want to do this in the future. I want to work on robots. I want to create more things that can follow what I want it to do, make my dreams a reality. And because of that, because of these classes, these teachers that I went to school, learned from, did all these projects, the enjoyment I had from them. There was struggle, obviously. It's hard, not easy. It's not an easy class what people think. Like when you go to technology programs, you're like, oh, it's going to be easy, 100. It's only going to be easy if you are invested in it and you want to work on it and you want to have fun with it and you want to do things with it. If you're just putting it aside as a side class, it's going to be annoying. It's going to be struggling. But that's with any subject you do. If you're not enjoying it, if you're not having fun with it, you're going to be like, this is a drag. But that's why I love technology classes, and I love the teachers that teach them.
Thank you. And Ray Rutowski.
I also wrote my stuff down, but this is a technology department, so it's on my phone. Hello, everyone. My name is Ray. I'm a senior at Kenmore East, and I am set to finish the Pre-Engineering Academy this year. And I just have to say that the technology department has been fantastic at everything, whether it be supporting us with all our projects or just the passion they have for technology is so real, and it helps rub off on me, I know, for sure, because coming into high school, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do when I was older. And I had always known I loved math and science and whatnot, but I wasn't sure if I would want to be like an accountant or something more with numbers. But then I remember my freshman year taking the Introduction to Engineering and Design class. We got to do so many fun projects that let us have so much creative liberties. I remember one of the projects we got to make an ornament on a 3D modeling site, and then we got to 3D print it as well. And he let us make whatever we wanted. He helped us out if we didn't know some of the tools to use, and we got to keep that and hang it on our tree, and it was so much fun. And without that, I don't know where I would be right now, because I don't know what I would be doing in my future. And now, next year, I'm set to go to UB and continue studying my engineering studies. And I can't wait for what that has to hold and for what the future in general has to hold. Thank you.
And we have a few postgrads with us as well, too. Right, we have Tori Saika, who is studying what at UB? What? Mechanical engineering. I knew engineering, but mechanical engineering. So, without further ado.
So I wanted to start by introducing myself. My name is Victoria Saika. I attend UB as a mechanical and aerospace engineer with a minor in robotics. I am a sophomore currently in my 4th semester, and it's kind of funny. When I went to write out and put my notes together as to what I wanted to speak about today, I actually made links between the classes that I did take in high school and the classes that I'm currently enrolled in now. So between for me, we have a CAD class. I had to take an introduction to CAD as a freshman at UB. And I noticed that the people who I was working with and my friends at UB, they didn't have prior experience on CAD. And it was a completely online class, so there was no lectures. So it was just here's an assignment, go do it, and that was the whole class. I knew exactly how to do everything because I had already had that experience through Kenmore East. And then, for example, in digital electronics, I did take at Kenmore East. I'm currently right now enrolled in engineering concepts, and it focuses on calculating resistances, voltages, everything in that class I learned in digital electronics. For AP Computer Science, we used code.org, which code.org was like a coding, and you coded everything in JavaScript. And in my differential equations, which is actually after Calc 3 you take it, it's a math class, we use Python coding for our labs to put together the formulas into everything, which is really cool. So I had experience almost with coding. Even though it was a different script, I still kind of knew what I was doing. I could look at it, I could understand it. For my EDD class, we worked the entire year in high school on projects, on one project, developing it, 3D printing it, creating it, which was really cool. And then I went to my first semester at UB for EAS 199, which was the entry level, this is what engineering kind of is, get a feel for it. We did a turbine project. So that was again, working with students, getting everything together, which was really, really cool that I had that experience not even 6 months prior. And then for sim and robotics, at that class, actually, I realized that I liked the VEX things we worked with. I was really inclined in that. So I decided to minor in robotics along with my major now. So it really has helped me, and I'm so appreciative of all these guys over here and the other ones missing today. So thank you.
I'm going to mix up the order. I'm going to bring Cassie Schwab up next, who's also at UB for engineering, and I'm going to have Matt Don go last, as he is an engineer at Moog, who's a little further out of our program, giving us more of the long-term picture. So, thank you, Cassie.
Hi everyone, I'm Cassie Schwab, and I am currently a freshman in UB. And I would like to focus first on what I did at Kenmore East. So for tech classes, for me, it was more on hands-on learning. I had tangible evidence of what I did in class. It wasn't just memorize, test, repeat, keep going. It was more of I got to bring stuff home with me. I got to show my parents. I have the box that I actually made with Mr. Sawarda, the lamp that we made in our class. They're in my room. I have the mousetrap car that I made with Mr. Moyer in 9th grade. Underneath my bed. I'm not sure why it's there, but for memories. And unfortunately, Mr. Aldrich, I don't think I had anything to take home. A little bit more of robotics, so I couldn't take those home, unfortunately. But it was more of a hands-on learning for me, which was really nice because it wasn't just memorize information, spit it back out on a test that was final. It was more of I got to do what I wanted to do, and I got to see evidence of what I did. But then also post-high school, I actually had the turbine project, which Tori explained, and that was last semester for me. And one of the things that tech class really helped me with was, you wouldn't think it would be, but it was public speaking. So I don't think if I had tech classes for the past 4 years, I don't think I'd be able to talk to everyone up here today. I'd be freaking out. But I had many presentations that I had to do for these classes. They got me prepared for public speaking. Even though the classes were maybe 20 kids max, it still prepared me for being up in front of a class like this. And also for my presentation at UB, I was able to talk in front of a class, and I felt comfortable doing what I was doing because of what I had at Kenmore East. And that's pretty much it for me today. And I also want to thank all the tech teachers that I had growing up with. I actually had Mr. Moyer in 8th grade and 9th grade. He followed me from Hoover Middle School. So I want to thank everyone having me up here today.
Thank you, Cassie. And Matt Don.
Good evening, everybody. So I'm Matt Don. I just wanted to thank not only the board, but the technology department and everybody here for the opportunity to speak. So I was a graduate of the 2013 class from Kenmore East. I went on to study and earn my master's degree at RIT. And I've been working at Moog in East Aurora for the last 3 years. And if I were to point to the most instrumental thing that got me to where I am today, I would have to say it is without a doubt the technology department and the series of classes that I was able to take, not only from middle school, but continuing on through high school. So I think it was instrumental in my determination of the field that I wanted to study. It started off in middle school with taking technology programs. And then once I was in high school, I was really able to expand upon all the different fields of study that you can go into in engineering. So I took many of the Project Lead the Way classes, and that really helped me not only to experience the different fields, but also to sort of hone in on what I thought I would like to study in college. So I felt very confident in myself going into college that I knew I wanted to study mechanical engineering, and that would lead to my future career, which is what I'm doing now, working as an aerospace engineer. So I think not only do I exemplify the sort of perspective that the technology department put together, but I think I sort of echo the sentiments of past and present students that this program is instrumental in the development of the next generation of STEM majors, and the men and women of our society who's going to push, the boundaries of emerging technologies and help better the world around us. So I just want to say thank you to all you guys for that. I don't think I would be where I am without it. So you can take that just sort of my experience here. So I don't think that anything has been more important to me in my development than this program. Thank you.
That pretty much concludes our program, but I really want to thank our students. I actually did not know what they were going to say ahead of time, and I'm almost tearing up here with their kind words. But thank you so much for your time tonight, and thank you to the board and Mr. Samato for allowing us the opportunity to showcase what we do.
Okay, so wasn't that awesome? I'm sorry, but I'm just so pleased and so honored to share the stage with my colleagues, students, and former students who have really put the icing on the cake from a terrific presentation from Franklin and given us that long-range view. I'm very proud of you guys, and you did a wonderful job, so thank you. And on behalf of Kenmore East, thanks for the special night to the Board of Education, the superintendent, and the community. It means an awful lot to us to be recognized this evening, and thanks again to these guys.
I'd like to add my thanks to Kenmore East, the teachers and the students, our present students, as well as our alumni who took the time tonight to give us those testimonials. That was awesome. Thank you. Okay, at the risk of being scolded by our district clerk, Mrs. Santa Maria, I'm going to just change things up a little bit on the agenda tonight. I think you'll see it, why in just a minute. It makes a little sense. And I think we're going to go right, before taking a break, we're going to go right to item 9A, which is our community member recognition. Let me read a little background about the recognition itself. The Community Connection Award is a new award program to distinguish members of the Kenton School District community who have furthered or contributed to the betterment of the district and its schools, students, and staff. Anyone can nominate a member of the community for this award. With the exception of students and staff who are honored separately, any member of the Kenton School District community is eligible for the Community Connection Award, including parents and family members of current or former students, retired staff, volunteers, local officials, employers, alumni, and residents. Nominations will be accepted quarterly, and you can submit your nominations by going to www.ktufsd.org/nominate. Our recipient for this month is Ms. Jeannie Vitko. Jeannie, can you come up, please? Now, the reason I changed it up in the agenda a little bit, I think it makes sense because the name Vitko might sound familiar to you this evening. Her daughter Rachel was just recognized a few minutes ago by the Kenmore-East staff. And, these two honorees were not, there was no connection in the way they were chosen. Jeannie was nominated by a community member and then was voted on by the Board of Education. And Rachel's award was chosen at the school level. So, but it just shows that, again, that the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. But let me read a little bit about Jeannie. Jeannie Vitko is an amazing advocate, parent, community member, and district leader. Jeannie has been actively involved in the leadership of numerous groups, including the Kenmore-East Music Boosters and parent-teacher organizations at several different schools. Jeannie has 5 children who have attended Kenmore-East, Franklin, Hoover, and Edison, and she has been actively involved in the leadership of parent groups at each of these schools. Jeannie is a steadfast supporter of our students and programs. She has been instrumental in conducting so many fundraisers through the years and has volunteered at countless school events and activities. Her children currently attend Franklin Middle and Kenmore-East, so that is where she is currently involved the most. But ask the administration and parent organizations of any of these schools, and they will speak to the legacy that Jeannie has left as a volunteer and parent supporter. She has devoted countless hours of personal time to making our community better and helping the students of Kenton. Thank you, Jeannie. You see why this made sense? Okay, now we are going to take a few-minute recess here so we can get organized for the rest of our meeting. 10A on the agenda, which is our adult and community education update presentation.
President Chimera, did you?
Oh yeah, was I not on? Sorry. Hey, if you think this is weird for you, it's even weirder for me on this side. So item 10A is our department presentation, adult and community education update presentation. Liza Anacafora will be presenting.
Perfect. Hi, everybody. Thank you to the board and Superintendent Samato for welcoming me here tonight to present to you. I'm going to start it off with a promo video that we just had produced this year for our high school equivalency program. Scott. Thank you. My name is Liza Akinfor, and I'm the Director of Adult and Community Education for Kenton Schools. Our programs help those that wish to earn a diploma, increase math and literacy proficiencies, enroll in credential programs, explore post-secondary education and training, or gain employment to become more self-sufficient. All of our programs are offered at no cost to students.
My name's Elizabeth, and I started the program in October. I would recommend it because it's a good program and it's helping me prepare for college.
The high school equivalency program is designed for students without a high school diploma or GED. We prepare students of all ages to be successful on the TASC exam. The exam students must pass to earn a New York State high school equivalency diploma.
My name is Chelsea. I started the program in August. The classroom is a smaller setting, so the teachers are more helpful to me, and a lot of more one-on-one is going on.
To date, through the COVID-19 Board of Regents pathway waiver, which was a temporary waiver that the state issued last March.
School District Board of Education meeting for December 8th, 2020. District Clerk, please note that all trustees are present. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States.
Okay. So right now, the Board of Regents passed a temporary regulation that basically allowed students that had partial credits for the TASC exam that were working on their high school equivalency diploma to then get issued a diploma through a different pathway. I won't get into that, but if you have questions, I can certainly answer them at the end. I'm proud to say that right now we've helped 111 students through this pathway get their high school equivalency diploma, and 47 of them actually are from Kenmore East and Kenmore West, which we are not this graduating cohort year, but throughout, I would say, a span of 5-year period, 47 of them were Kenmore East and Kenmore West graduates, enrollees, which we were really proud to help those students earn their diploma right through our community. We do anticipate about 130 students will get their diploma through this pathway by June 30th, which is when it expires. And then we do have a handful of other students that have gotten their diploma through the traditional pathway of taking the TASC exam and sitting for the exam. So we anticipate about 150 students will get their diploma, their high school equivalency diploma this year, which is something we're really proud about. Usually we tailor we toggle between 50 to 60 a year. So this has been a year of growth, but not only opportunity for these students that really wouldn't have had the opportunity to get this diploma in the past. So we're proud about that. I'm going to play this one student testimonial. There are multiple on the PowerPoint, so I would encourage you to check them out at a different time, but for today, we'll just play this one testimonial. Oh, nope, not that one. We can hold off. Just make sure that you take the opportunity to listen to them. There's actually 4 testimonials, 3 ESL student, or 3 high school equivalency students, and then 1 ESL student that took the time to kind of, put their heart and soul on paper for you to kind of see the impact that our program has made to them. The solid foundation really hasn't changed for what we've been doing. So over the last year, we've been doing things. The foundation has not changed. The means by which we do it has changed, right? So we offer the same programming that we have been offering for a number of years. We've just adapted because of the COVID-19 pandemic, and I have to say that our team of staff and students really have come together and challenged themselves, pushed the limits of what they thought they knew and could do, and really succeeded. And I think you can see that in our enrollment, in our retention efforts, and in the outcomes, which is the diplomas and entry into college and post-secondary education and training. So, like I said, nothing here has changed. It's just the means by which we're working, right? So we're at home. Teachers are using WhatsApp, Zoom, Google Hangouts. ESL students are thriving, which was a challenge that we had to, to jump in the beginning, but it really has shown our department that we are ready to tackle what's happening, and it's working. I'm not going to spend too much time on this slide right here, even though it's a very important slide. So if you have questions about it, please feel free to let me know, ask away. But I guess I just want to say that things are looking good over on our end, and we're very appreciative of the federal fund support that we get through the different streams on this slide. So if you have questions, please feel free to let me know, and I can certainly, answer them to the best that I can. So now I'm going to go into community education, which we're sort of on the rebound now, right? So we were shut down for a while during this pandemic, and Kate Simmons and I in the office were planning on how we're going to rebound. So phase 1 of our reopening really was late fall, early winter, where we started with just very low risk adult activities such as quilting, right? So they were all very far apart, wearing masks, entered into the building, and they were safe. Phase 2 was really the Engineering for Kids programming, which was in person at Kenmore Middle School. And we started off with just 1 day a week, 1 evening a week after school at Kenmore Middle School. And due to demand right now, we're about 3 evenings a week here at this building. And I have to say that parents are so thrilled. Parents are so happy to have their kids in the building. And we are really pleased to see how well it's been going as well. To date, we've had about 65 K-5 kiddos into the building on varying nights of the week, and we've lowered our class size, so they're only maxed at 8 to 10 depending on the room that they're in. Everyone's wearing masks, socially distanced, there's not shared materials, and like I said, parents are thrilled. Right here, you can see just a brief overview of some of the things we're working for spring and summer 2021. Enrollment or registration opened yesterday. We've had over 150 new online users and over $19,000 in registrations in 2 days. Parents are excited, kids are excited, and we really have shown during this gradual phase-in that we're ready for the next phase of community education to be here. So we have some highlighted programs up on the screen. I would encourage you to check out our online catalog and our online registration as well for more information on that. And then I just really want to thank, we have a a small but growing team over in the Adult and Community Education departments, and I want to thank everybody on that team of ours because it's small but mighty, and there's a big lift that's happening on the second floor of this building that oftentimes goes hidden. So thank you to everyone on my team that has helped push this forward. Questions? Questions from the board? Okay. Thanks.
Thank you, Liza. Okay, next is item 11A, our public comments. Let me read the rules for public comments before we bring our speakers up. Any person may make a public comment by placing his or her name and address and topic on the sign-in sheet. Public comments during public session are one-way communication. The speaker will be recognized by the board president, stand at the podium, and state his or her name and address. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes per speaker. Board president will raise his hand when there are 30 seconds remaining so the speaker can finish his or her statement. At a public board meeting, no person may orally initiate charges or complaints against individual district employees or board members. The speaker will be stopped if any public member or district employee is mentioned by name. Speakers are expected to avoid defamatory, abusive, or vulgar language. The president may terminate the speaker's privilege to address if, after being called to order, the speaker persists in improper conduct or remarks. Okay, it looks like we have 4 speakers this evening. Our first is Mr. Peter Stumiller of 258 Fayette.
Good evening. It's hard to believe that 8 months have passed since last time we were together in executive session at the invitation of Superintendent Samato to discuss our hybrid virtual remote model for education. 8 months have passed. We know now what we knew then. Virtual, hybrid, remote is absolutely no substitute for the dynamic classroom environment that our parents, our students, and our teachers demand. Yet, faced with the deadliest pandemic in a century, our teachers rose to the occasion, demonstrated ingenuity, creativity, and perseverance, and partnered with our parents, working carefully with our parents to support our kids with the instructional strategies that they needed to survive. We also partnered with our instructional support specialists and the Staff Development Center. We needed to grab on to engagement tools that we never used before. And between our coaches and the Staff Development Center, we learned quickly what those tools should be in order to successfully administer our programs. So here we are. In order to sustain that progress, I'm just going to point out 3 things that I made clear to you in writing earlier this morning. So please take a look at that when you get a chance. First, health and safety. There's no question that our teachers can't wait to see all of our kids back in class. But we do not want to jeopardize their safety. We don't want to jeopardize the health of our staff. So we want to be sure that we follow the expert advice of our public health experts. What does that mean? That means masks. That means 6-foot social distancing. That means sanitize, disinfecting. That's what it means. When it comes to curriculum and instruction, number 2, I think what you heard tonight speaks for itself. When you heard the accolades from Alex, Bob, Kevin, Joe, Mark, Ruth Ann, and Jay, you heard an exemplified example of what our teachers are doing kindergarten through 12 every day in this COVID environment. And what's critically important for us to remember is hundreds and hundreds of parents have accepted the district's invitation to keep their child remote for the rest of the year. Just between the 2 high schools, we have 800 kids that have decided with their parents' support to stay remote. What does that mean for the classroom teacher? That means we have to teach simultaneously kids that are out in the virtual world as well as kids that are in our class. The only way that we can sustain the quality education that those parents and students deserve, as well as the ones that are in our class, is using that desperately needed asynchronous Wednesday. So I ask for your continued support to collaborate with the teachers as we work on re-entering our students. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Okay, next we have Maya Brambau.
Hi, my name is Maya Brumbaugh. I'm a freshman at Kenmore West High School. I'm excited to try out for the cheer team this month, and I'm really excited that sports are back at our school. This year has been rough for everyone, especially as kids. I learned more in the classroom than at home, and I made important connections with teachers and friends when I went back in January. I'm excited to go to school on Mondays and Tuesdays, but the rest of this week I am unfocused and I have a hard time learning home. I wish I could be on school on Wednesdays because I feel like a day off and I don't learn much. I don't feel as motivated at home and I feel a lot more stressed compared to other school years. I have a hard time in math and I like being in school to get help from my math teacher during my study hall. It's easier to get help in person. A lot of my teachers have told me that they want us kids back in the classroom full time. For my education, it would be better for me to be in school 5 days a week. In school, everyone's good about wearing masks and following the new rules. Some of my classes, I only have 5 kids and it seems like there could be room for more. Please try your hardest to get us back in school full time.
Thank you, Maya. Next, and I guess I said 4, I guess we only have 3 this evening. It's Jessica Brumbaugh, 172 Southwood.
Thank you to all the hardworking teachers, counselors, bus drivers, and school staff in our schools, educating our kids and keeping them safe. They are the rock stars during normal times, but even more so during this pandemic. I am asking why Wednesdays, which is a wasted day for students, hasn't been brought back as a synchronous day yet. You want more in-person instruction, but this day has not been put into the hybrid model. Tell us parents what are the problems getting Wednesdays back, and then go back and solve all those problems to get our kids back in school now. Our kids have had 17 days of in-person instruction in the past year, and that is unacceptable. Parents are not looking for babysitters. We are looking for educators for our kids. Thank you for reaching out to parents to determine what kids will be staying remote this year. Please be transparent and then let us know how much room remains in the classroom to see if there are possibilities to bring back our kids more days. You mentioned problems with lunch, transitioning between classes, and arrival dismissal with more kids back in school. After a year of planning time, we hope you already have come up with solutions to all of these problems. I asked the school board, what are your thoughts on school reopening? You have not said in all these meetings I have attended this year. What are teachers' thoughts or concerns? Why isn't it not an agenda item at the top of every board meeting with the title School Reopening? I am fighting for schools to reopen 5 days a week. I have interviewed with local print and media news outlets. I have written to legislators and state officials. I have attended rallies in front of the Rath Building. I have fundraised for the Open Schools Billboard on the 33, attended informational meetings with other district parents, and I've been speaking here monthly. Tell the Kenton community what you are doing to open schools. What you do now will impact this community for years to come when it comes to the election of board members, passing of the school budget, and the determination of where parents are going to enroll their children, not only for the upcoming school year, but for years to come. Please tell us that you are making plans now for school reopening for 5 full days. We know you can't flip the switch tomorrow, but we will not accept delays like we saw in the fall. I know you've worked hard during this pandemic, but I'm asking you to work harder and work faster. Our kids need to be back in school, not in September, and not when our entire population has been vaccinated. I expect this district to be a leader and not a follower. I expect you to fight for change like myself and not sit and wait for it to happen. When this pandemic is over and you are in our school buildings with our kids and watching them walk across the stage at graduation, I hope you are able to look back
and know that you fought as hard as you could for our kids during this challenging time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Brumbaugh. Superintendent Samato, any comments?
Thank you, President Stu Miller. And just a comment on our speakers. Thank you to all of our speakers for speaking this evening. It means a lot to continue to hear perspective. That's what we're interested in as a district. As a kind of a collective response, President Chimera, a comment to it all, Mr. Stu Miller, we look forward to continuing to work and get the ideas from the boots on the ground, and that is what we're going to continue to do. And to our Ms. Brumbaugh and Maya Brumbaugh, we too agree that moving back into school for more in-person instruction is vital. And that is what we're going to continue to focus on. We will provide those updates. Just this week alone, we have reorganized to not only plan at the central office level, but there is movement with all of our teachers in collaboration with our schools and figuring out. Recently, we did look at VLA during my district update. I'll give a little bit more of an update about that. But I think we can agree with everyone who spoke tonight that the goal is to come back to more in-person instruction as we move through this pandemic, and finding the safe way to do that, and also following the guidance will be what we'll continue to discuss.
Thank you, Mr. Samato. All right, moving on to item 12, our board committee reports. Let me go through the list, and if your committee met this month, you can chime right in. Our audit finance committee, I don't believe met this month. Did it, Tom?
No.
Our Board of Education Policy Subcommittee, I know they reported to, we're going to talk a little bit about our board retreat, but I don't think you had a set. Do you have anything to report, Andrew or Leslie?
Nothing this month.
Today.
Okay. The ECASB Budget and Finance Committee, they meet? No, okay. I know the Delegate Assembly did not meet. The Staff Development Policy Board, I'm on that committee, and the Staff Development Policy Board held their annual all-day retreat on February 26th. Everyone on the policy board participated. In past years, that retreat's been held at Praxair, offsite at Praxair, but due to COVID this year, it was done remotely. I have to admit that I had some reservations, or I was curious to see how an all-day retreat was going to work out remotely, but I was very pleasantly surprised. I have to give kudos to Mary Lynn Biron and Kevin Kruger, who are the two policy board co-chairs, and Elaine Ablov, the staff center director. They did a fantastic job of planning the day. It was a very interesting and productive day. Just to highlight a couple things that went on, we all participated in small groups in an escape room activity, where the topic of the escape room, or the focus of it, was on student engagement. And through working through various puzzles and things, we learned a lot about student engagement and some activities that could be used in classrooms. Also, we spent some time completing evaluations for our director, Elaine Ablov. The policy board evaluates her. And then we spent time making some public relation videos for the center. So, there were some other things that went on too, but those were, I think, the highlights, and turned out to be I thought, a really productive day. How about the ECASB legislative team?
They don't meet until next week, so we'll be there next week.
Family Support Center?
Yeah, the Family Support Center met on February 26th. Right now, all of their programs are still all virtual. They're working on the FAFSA Completion Initiative program, and they said that's been there's been a lot of demand for that this year. They've had a lot of parent requests and helping to fill out college applications. 57 families have taken advantage of that program, and they had anticipated to end that program March 1st, but they're going to continue it as long as they have families interested and in need of the program. They're doing a yoga for wellness class, which is virtual. It's open to employees and clients. A meditation class, again, virtual and open to employees and clients. They are looking at ways that they can return to in-person counseling. The problem is that all of the rooms in their building are interior rooms, so there are no windows and the ventilation is poor and they're small. So they're trying to work out different ways that they can bring some people back to in-person counseling. I think that's about what I had, Tom. I don't know if there was anything else you wanted to add from that meeting. Right. I think that's it for that meeting.
All right, thank you. Let's see, the SAVE Committee, did that meet this month?
We actually meet tomorrow, so
Okay.
have a report next month.
Technology, I don't believe met, did it? No, not this one. How about Wellness Committee?
Yes, the Wellness Committee met on February 10th, and the focus was planning events for the District Wellness Week, which is next week, March 15th through the 19th. So that Wellness Week will be for staff and students, and they have come up with a district-wide themes, and then each building will plan different activities related to that theme that will work for their building. So the daily themes are Mindful Monday, Tasty Tuesday, which will focus on nutrition. Wednesday, Wear Green for the environment and St. Patrick's Day. Kindness is Essential on Thursday, and Fitness Friday. They also discussed having each building plan some kind of challenges, like a fitness challenge or a walking challenge, decreasing screen time challenge, increasing your water intake challenge. So it's a lot of talk of fitness and wellness and being healthy for Wellness Week next week. So that's it.
Thank you. Okay, I think that's it for our committees. How about board comments?
I just wanted to mention that first, with the Diversity, Inclusion, and Equity Committee meeting, took place on February 27th, so it's a 3-hour virtual meeting. And the 13 members, one of whom I presented and introduced ourselves, there were 2 or 3 30-minute talks by guest presenters, including particularly inspiring one by Dr. Oliver Robinson.
I agree.
Okay, is that better? Yep. Sorry. So anyway, the first NYSBA Diversity, Inclusion, and Equity Committee met on February 27th. And there are 13 members of the committee, one from each region of the state. I represent Region 1. We introduced ourselves. There were guest speakers, including Dr. Oliver Robinson, the superintendent of Shenandoah schools in the Capital District. And he exhorted us as committee members to fulfill our charge by leaning in and engaging in difficult conversations about race. One of our goals as well will be to compile resources for school boards around the state to address equity in their districts. Our next meeting is March 20th. Commissioner Rosa will be joining us, and each of us will be ready at that meeting to offer our own individual definition of equity. And each of us also received a copy of this book, Seats at the Table, which we'll be reading parts of for subsequent meetings. It's a book with about 50 essays by school board members across the state on race, their perspectives on race and racism. We were also encouraged to send Mary Matheny, our contact person, materials that we come across in between meetings to add to the committee's clearinghouse. Just recently, I sent in 2 titles of books that I recently read. Confederates in the Attic by Tony Horowitz, came out in 1998, and it talks about white supremacy and lingering racism after the Civil War in the South. Another book that I recommended was Prejudential, Black America and the Presidents by Margaret Kimberly. A new website for teachers, Resources for Teaching About Race and Racism in the New York Times. There's 75 lesson plans and writing tasks and videos. And then I also recommended a December 2019 document prepared for the governor and the legislature entitled, by the State Ed Department, entitled Educator Equity Report. So I'm looking forward to our next meeting.
Thank you, Dr. Riekstein. Anybody else, board comments?
I just wanted to comment that I am participating, and I don't know if any of the other board members are, but participating in the, as a judge in the Invention Convention for the district's elementary schools, and that's all going on this week. It's really kind of a neat how they've got it all organized, how we get to view all of the inventions created by the kids, and then we vote on them, and they're holding a virtual sort of award ceremony next week, and I'm kind of curious to actually possibly attend that. So it looks really kind of fun.
I'm judging that also, so
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it too.
Yeah. It looks really neat. Some of the inventions are really cute.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I'll comment on is that last Friday, myself, actually Kenton was a fairly big contingent of representatives who met with Assemblyman Bill Conrad. We met virtually. It was organized by the ECASB legislative team. There were representatives from Tonawanda and Sweet Home school districts there. But myself and Jen and Matt and Superintendent Samato and Assistant Superintendent Marasco also participated. I was pretty encouraged by what Assemblyman Conrad talked about as far as finances. One of the things that was kind of interesting that was pointed out, at least to me, I know the Buffalo News had reported on sort of stimulus funding, and we were kind of led in. He kind of explained a little bit about that. So I imagine we'll have more sort of chat about that. I don't know if anybody else had a comment on it, but.
No? Okay, I just like to comment on our Board of Education retreat on Tuesday, February 16th. The board and Superintendent Samato participated in an all-day retreat right there in the room we're in. It was a packed day of activities. After a warm-up, we had a presentation from Dr. Hersey Bankhead on diversity training. And then Assistant Superintendent Marasco conducted a very informative presentation on school finance, which, as far as I'm concerned, you can't get enough of. I'm learning a lot about it, and she did a great job of presenting things to us that day. Next, the board discussed the timeline moving forward for our board self-evaluation and the superintendent's evaluation. As a board, we're going to be expected to have our self-evaluations completed by May 15th, and then we'll discuss the results as a board around June 1st. And then the superintendent will have his self-evaluation completed by May 1st, and the board will have their evaluations of the superintendent completed by May 15th, and we'll convene again on June 1st to kind of wrap all that up and discuss it. After lunch, Vice President Gianni and Trustee Battaglia updated us on the progress of the Board of Education handbook that they're in the process of putting together, which seems to be coming together well and something that I think is much needed. And then we participated in an activity on board procedures and Board of Education roles and protocols. And then we had a presentation from Samantha Corey from UB Institute of Trauma Informed Care next. And then finally, Assistant Superintendent White tied the whole day together for us by updating us on where we are as a district in a lot of these areas. So it was a full day and went quickly, but we had a lot going on that day. So it was fun to be able to finally, I guess, work with. We don't get a chance to meet together a lot other than at the public board meetings, and the retreats I think are very valuable for that. The only other comment I had, I just want to take a second to recognize our combined Kenmore East, Kenmore West girls bowling team and their coach Bob Howard for finishing with 11 wins and 1 loss this year and winning the Niagara Frontier League Championship. And when any of our sports can win the Niagara Frontier League Championship, that's quite an accomplishment. It's a great league. And the girls begin sectional play tomorrow, Mr. Banker tells me. So good luck to the girls in the sectionals, and hopefully they can bring home another title. Any other board comments? Okay, next is our student representative report. I'm going to turn it over to Lauren Reinhardt, our Kenmore East student rep, and Kendall Brock, our Kenmore West student rep. I can't say enough about the great job these two talented young ladies are doing. I know they're anxious to share an update on what has transpired since the last board meeting with the project they're working on. So I'll turn it over to them.
Is this microphone on if we use it?
Can we use this one? Okay. All right. So we just wanted to start off with, we have been asked to help out with a project that the Tonawanda Youth Board is working on currently. So the Youth Board consists of student representatives from all of the high schools in the Tonawanda area, not just the Kenton schools. And together the students help the community by volunteering, running events, and just positively contributing to the community.
Mm-hmm. And so we've been in contact with our building youth representatives, because East and West both have a student representative. And we're hopefully going to be working with other student organizations at Kenmore, such as National Honor Society, Student Council, even like individual class presidents and all that, just about bringing these volunteer opportunities to the students at Kenmore East and Kenmore West.
And we hope to have more information about these projects at the next meeting, just because we just started working on them.
So we have some exciting news. So as of March 1st, we had our first district leadership council meeting. And as you know, we've been working closely with Superintendent Samato and Board President Chimera over the past few months about really starting our student leadership initiative. And we've been successful with organizing individual building councils of leadership for students. But this was our first actual meeting as a district.
So we were able to have 10 students attend with their administrators, and we just wanted to share some of the activities that we led during the meeting. But first we wanted to recognize all of the students that participated. So on the screen are all of the schools that the students are from, so the 5 higher level,
middle and high school,
thank you, in the district, and all of their students who attended, and their administrators also came with them, so they got to participate in all the activities as well.
Yeah, so obviously we started, as most meetings do, with an icebreaker. And this was really just a get-to-know-you activity. And it went really well, I would say. All of the students participated, as well as all the principals. Ourselves, we participated, Superintendent Samato, Mr. Chimera, everyone. And it was just a great way to really learn more about each other. Because this was our first time, obviously, meeting as a big group. And many people, they haven't interacted with students outside of their own building in a while, if ever. So that was great.
One really cool thing for me was, so we had like Lauren said, the administrators participated as well, so we got to know them on a more personal level, understand what they like to do outside of just being in school, because we all have a personality outside of school. And one thing that I found really cool was the one on the bottom, it's Skylar's. I have all of my classes with Skylar, but I ended up getting to know that she's going into pre-law for her major in college, and that's just something I didn't know about her. So it really gave us an opportunity to meet these students on another level. The next thing we did was a school share out. So we had the kids sitting at tables that were with their own schools. So West was at a table in Franklin, and they talked to each other, and they came up with some good things that were happening in their school. Some kids shared that they really thought the COVID procedures were going well. Other kids shared, at West, they talked about our Wellness Wednesday that we just had and how they liked that. So we got feedback on the recent experiences.
Another thing that we saw that was interesting was the connections, because that's really what the DLC is about, is building connections between the different schools and between the individual buildings. And one of the things that we found interesting was both Franklin and Hoover Middle were talking about their WEB program, which is also a student leadership program, all about bringing younger students and connecting them with older students at the building and just really making transitions easier. And we connected that in the sense that we were both Link Crew members, which at Kenmore-East, and that's another transitional group that helps with the 8th graders coming into the high school building for the first time. And Webb and Link Crew are very similar. So those 7th grade students at Hoover Middle and Franklin Middle were able to see that, oh, the work that I'm doing now, I can continue into high school. And that's really what the DLC is all about, is showing them those connections and just overall increasing communication between all the buildings.
So ideally, we would like to meet one more time with the students of the DLC, and we really look forward to being able to continue to go to their PLC meetings as they meet on a pretty monthly basis. And that's it. Any questions?
Basically, also, we just wanted to thank everyone who helped put this together. Obviously, this wasn't organized just by us. There are so many different things that went into planning this: transportation, food, everything, and just it really went so smoothly, and we couldn't have asked for a better first DLC meeting. So, any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you again, ladies. Great job. And we look forward to, again, hearing next month how it progresses. Thank you. Okay, we're up to item 13, our superintendent's report. Mr. Samato.
Thank you, President Chimera. And first, I just want to say Lauren and Kendall are just spectacular. They are the two finest examples that I've seen of just young, wonderful leaders that are just really anxious to keep on growing and learning. President Chimera and myself were looking at them during their presentations to the kids, and they were presenting to principals as well. And it was like we were watching two new co-teachers right out of college going into teaching. I mean, they really did just a wonderful job. So great leadership, really wonderful leadership. I also wanted to say thank you to Brandon and Scott, who every week we get through different things from, we have President Chimera on a giant screen today to fixing microphones on the fly. So thank you, gentlemen, for that. I said during the, after the public comment that I just wanted to talk briefly about some of the things that are going on. So board members, you're aware that we had sent a request to Virtual Learning Academy families, okay? And we spoke to a lot of families that are in Virtual Learning Academy, and they had concerns. I want to share a few concerns that they had with you so that you're keeping your finger on the pulse as well. They want to come back to school. Some of them said, in the models that we have, we feel that virtual is giving us the most consistency, which, if you remember in the beginning of the year, we had talked about that as challenging as virtual is, in this challenging year of the pandemic, there are some things that are benefits to certain families that they would feel from virtual as well. So they share that. They also shared an uneasiness of the uncertainty that the rest of the year will bring. So what are you trying to accomplish, Mr. Samato? What is the district trying to do? And this is the way that I tried to explain it in the weekly connection. I tried to explain it to individuals that I spoke to on the phone. I know our leadership teams throughout the district have done the same thing. We've tried to, for our virtual families, we've tried to provide them the option to come back whenever they saw fit, whenever, about comfort level. If you look at some of our surrounding districts, not everybody was able to do that. Usually a dedication, and some districts were, but many would have families dedicate, for example, for the entire first semester. Or if they went in for the second semester, the entire second semester. Why we're doing that now is to get a real feel, I guess is the way, no pun intended with our Buffalo weather, but a real feel of what our numbers are for our hybrid. Why? Well, because everything during this pandemic has been unpredictable. There has not been, I really can't say, and I'm not being sarcastic about this, I really can't say that there's anything about planning school that has been consistent this year. And our teachers have had to work on the fly, our administrators have had to work on the fly, our task force teams have worked on the fly. So with that being said, we know that our guidance currently consists of things like masks and 6 feet of social distancing. That if there's any consistency in this inconsistent year, those are two of the things that have been consistent up to this point. With rates dropping and us really starting to see that people were coming back, if things don't change from the 6 feet, we want to see what we're able to push the envelope with numbers when it comes to 6 feet. How many classrooms, how many grade levels could we get back to getting more instruction? For example, especially, let's just talk about K and 1 for a minute. Obviously, K and 1 are a tremendous concern. We're talking about a year where kids, I think Mr. Stumiller during his comments, started his comments tonight saying that nothing beats being with the teacher in the classroom. So we know what we're challenged with. We know what we'll be challenged with for years to come. Even if we went to no social distancing tomorrow, we would be facing the challenges of this pandemic for years. So we want to look at, especially for our youngest, with the social distancing requirements, can we get them in more? So for example, if we have a classroom or a grade level that maybe on A day has 8 students, on B day has 9 students, can that classroom fit 17 social distancing? Now, a unique challenge, and it is unique in Kenton, as wonderful as our communities and our culture is, our classrooms sometimes are not when it comes to space. So it's not a consistent thing across the board that we're always working with the same square footage. We're always working with the same challenges. We're always working with the same numbers. So that's what we've attempted to gather. And teams have been looking at that ever since the beginning, to be honest with you. We're also looking at what can happen with Wednesdays. Now, with Wednesdays, whether we're talking about our virtual numbers or whether we're talking about our hybrid numbers, I want to remind everyone that when we came into this year completely changing our instructional models. And I don't just mean some kids come on Monday, Tuesday, some kids come on Thursday, Friday, and Wednesday's asynchronous. Scheduling at elementary had to be completely changed. Scheduling at secondary had to be modified. Scheduling at middle school had to be modified. Teachers, we had to, if you remember, we went through a transition with moving kids out of original classrooms for virtual to put them with individual teachers that can ELA and math specialists. I'm just reminding everybody of some of the changes. So as things change in the guidance now, it's not as simple as saying, okay, well, we were 5 days a week and we found a way to go to 2 days to bring kids in on a rotating basis. We had to base our entire schedules around this. Not saying that it can't be done, but it's more challenging than just simply saying that now we're going back to more time of instruction. I mentioned some of the challenges in the weekly connection. I talked about transitions. I talked about transportation. For example, let me just focus on transportation for a moment. Transportation all along, that no more than one student can sit in a seat unless they are family members. Folks, not trying to say that we won't be able to overcome the challenge, but it is a tremendous challenge. We run 3 different time schedules for our buses, 3 different educational programs, and we can only put so many kids on our buses at once. So if things changed, but they don't change for transportation, that's going to be a giant challenge. You can understand where I'm going with that. Our cafeterias are set up. Kids have to take their masks off while they eat, and these are things that we've planned for. We plan for them with polycarbonate, we plan for them with social distancing, we plan for them in the spaces that that are provided for our cafeteria, and spaces that aren't cafeteria spaces. Once we go to, if social distancing changes, how do we have kids following whatever that guidance is, being able to eat with masks off and being safe simultaneously? It's not as simple as saying we're going to add another lunch period. It's not as simple as saying we'll find another space within our buildings, because our buildings, the space is utilized to the fullest extent that it possibly can be. Now, once again, I'm not saying that our teams aren't making progress or haven't made progress, and we'll continue to do that. We have more meetings this week that will continue to look at that. But I just don't want anyone to ever leave or be under the impression that there are people in this district that don't want kids back more. From our teachers, to our transportation people, to our principals, to your superintendent. It is a challenging year. And one of the things that's probably going to be our biggest challenge is that as we progress, we forget where we've been. I don't want to stay in the past, but the past has created the challenges that we have in our present. And that's what happens in this school year. I know that no matter if you talk to me or any other superintendent, they would tell you something very similar. And it's much different trying to coordinate that and organize that in a district of our size versus, for example, a single school. So these are some of the things that we're facing. These are some of the things that we'll continue to examine. Those numbers we'll continue to examine. We're well over more than 150 families that have chosen during that time to come back from VLA to hybrid. So we have more students who over the next couple weeks will be joining our schools again, and we'll continue to do that, and we'll continue to examine it. So I know it's a very broad update. I will also tell you that to close, that if we changed our social distancing, because that's what the guidance provides, remember, as a district, we have to follow the guidance of New York State. That is the rule that we have to as a public school district. If we change what that social distancing is, because that guidance has changed, we're going to have to also talk to our parents again about their comfort level with that. So a parent this weekend, I was speaking to her Sunday morning, reminded me. She said, Mr. Samato, just keep in mind, very, very, very nice woman. She'll remain nameless, but she was very polite, made some very poignant points, disagreed with me on many things, but had a great conversation. And she said, when things change, somebody that may be comfortable in a 6-foot hybrid may not be comfortable in a less than 6-foot hybrid. And we're going to have to, I would hope that your team, and that is something that the team is looking at, I would hope that your team would consider that. And I'll remind everyone that as much as I may be comfortable, there's someone that could be right next to me, and I'm not referring to you, Miss Gina, but pointing towards you, that would absolutely be the exact opposite of how I feel. That is a challenge that we came into in September, and it's still the challenge that we face in March 2021. So we will continue to work through it. Nobody wants it more than the educators and the boots on the ground and the administrators in the school. And I can promise you that no one has rested or relaxed at any point during this time, nor will we. If we can get 2 days, if there's only 2 days left in the school year and something hasn't changed, we would still fight for those 2 days. So we're going to continue to examine, we're going to continue to press, and hopefully we will have some progress within the next short time here, at least even with the 6 foot that currently exists. So we have a lot of other presentations tonight. That gives you the real feel of where we are. Any questions or comments before I continue on based on that from any board members for me or the team based on that? Okay, and we thank you for your support. You've been tremendous. It's not easy on families. It's not easy on teachers, and it's really not easy on boards of education during this time. So without sounding like I'm kissing up to you too much, that's exactly what the point that everybody has to understand. This is not an easy job on anyone right now. So with that being said, these next 2 pieces, I'm going to actually hand off to Assistant Superintendent Richards to share with us a memorandum of agreement with the KTSEA, actually 2 memorandums of agreement with the KTSEA.
Good evening. The first one is with respect to food service. We've had to adjust some shifts due to the community food distribution, which is pretty atypical for them to start when they start, so we've acknowledged that. And I'm going to, excuse me, I recommend to Superintendent Samato to request approval for that MOA.
So President Chimera, I would recommend and ask for the board's approval on item 13B.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the memorandum of agreement, KTSEA shift differential for food service workers?
So moved, Andrew.
So moved by Andrew.
Second by Leslie.
Second by Leslie. Any discussion? Okay, there being none, I call for a vote. All those in favor so signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried unanimously.
The second one is in reference to a grievance solution or resolution between the KTSEA and the district over matters that pertain to benefits as they relate to the definition of part-time versus full-time. We've come to an agreement, and I would like to recommend to the superintendent to request approval for that MOA as presented.
So with that being said, President Chimera, I'd present to the board and to you this memorandum of agreement, item 13C, for approval.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve memorandum of agreement, KTSEA grievance resolution?
So moved, Tom.
Moved by Tom.
Second, Leslie.
Second by Leslie. Any discussion? Okay, there being none, I call for a vote. Those in favor so signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried unanimously.
Okay, wonderful. So thank you very much, board, for entertaining all those topics under 13. For 14, I'm going to turn it over to our Assistant Superintendent White for her executive summary.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I don't have any updates for tonight. I do have one item on my consensus agenda. Were there any questions on that item? Okay, that concludes my report then. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Assistant Superintendent White. And item 15, our financial report, I would ask Assistant Superintendent Ms. Nicole Morosco to share with us her summary.
Hi, I have a few things for you tonight. The first is the bus proposition resolution. This is something that was discussed previously at the budget workshops that you all attended. And this is just a resolution allowing the bus proposition to be added as a separate proposition with the budget vote. It is not approval for the bus purchase, but it allows us to go out and have the voters say yes or no on the bus purchases. So I would recommend that Superintendent Samato request your approval for that at this time.
Wonderful, thank you, Assistant Superintendent Marasco. So President Chimera, I'd put before you and the board for approval, resolution calling for the inclusion of District's 2021 Notice of Annual Vote.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the resolution calling for the inclusion in the district's 2021 Notice of Annual Vote, the proposition for the purchase and financing of buses?
So moved. Jen.
So moved by, was that Leslie?
It's Jen.
Jen, sorry. So moved by Jen.
I'll
Is
second.
there a second?
Yeah, Leslie will second it then.
Second by Leslie. Any discussion? There being none, I call for a vote. All those in favor so signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried unanimously.
Thank you. The next item I have is the Public Employer Health Emergency Plan. This is a plan that is required for us to file to New York State. Governor Cuomo had passed legislation and asked us to file this. It's really just in preparation if there's ever another public health event. We used a template that several other districts use across the state, and it's required that, and we asked for feedback from the unions on that because they're included in it. So we did receive that, and I went over the entire plan with the unions that had any questions on it. So it was in my board update the last 2 weeks in regards to what it was. So if you don't have any questions on that, I would ask the superintendent put that forward for your approval.
Thank you, Assistant Superintendent Marasco. So President Chimera, I'd ask the board to take action on item 15C, Public Employers Health Emergency Plan.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the Public Employer Health Emergency Plan?
Moved, Andrew.
Moved by Andrew.
Second, Tom.
Second by Tom. Any discussion? Okay, there being none, I call for a vote. All those in favor so signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried unanimously.
Just the last item I wanted to note is the policy 5633, the gender neutral single occupancy bathroom. That is a required policy to be passed. All it is requiring is designated single-use bathrooms and certain signage be put up next to those. So it's a required policy. It's final reading. It's just for signage only on that. Does anybody have any questions on that policy? It's in the consensus agenda. I just wanted to make sure you all were aware of it. Nope. So I would ask, it's along in the consensus agenda, and I have no other reports at this time, just the general reports for your review. So thank you.
Thank you, Assistant Superintendent Marasco. And with that, board, I am going to turn it over to Assistant Superintendent Richards, who I know has quite a bit for us tonight. So, Jeff, you're up.
I see everybody stayed for my gripping presentation, but before I get to that, a couple of things. I do have an item on the consent agenda. It's a recommendation for Board Policy 3420 to be replaced by the current policy. Sorry, the current policy is going to be replaced by this one. It's for non-discrimination and anti-harassment in the district. It does a couple of things. It fully replaces the current policy. It gives a clearer process for the complaints in a much better form than we currently have, which is welcome. And it kind of describes the parameters of what could discrimination or harassment look like a little better than the previous policy. So with that new reporting form will also come the appointment of an individual. It'll be the Civil Rights Compliance Officer. That'll be the Assistant Superintendent for HR. And you should know that if there's any concern about my gender in this case, then we could always appoint. I'm entitled to appoint anybody else to assist me in any investigation. So it's not going to just be me all the time in this particular case. So if there's no questions on that, That's on the consent agenda. Questions? Number 2 is a resolution to prefer Section 75 charges for a KTSEA employee. It's a matter of conduct, and so I'm going to make the recommendation to the superintendent that he request approval for the resolution to prefer Section 75 charges on a particular individual and appoint a hearing officer for said process.
Thank you, Assistant Superintendent Richards. And yes, Board and President Chimera, I'm asking for you to take action on 16B, the Section 75 charges.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the resolution to prefer Section 75 charges on a particular individual and to appoint a hearing officer?
So moved, Leslie.
Well moved by Leslie, second by Andrew. Any discussion? Okay, there being none, I call for a vote. All those in favor so signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried unanimously.
I just want to add one thing that was in my executive summary today. I want to recognize the retirees that in the course of this school year, we had 28 total. It broke down with 21 that put in their notice by March 1st, for, most of which were first eligible per contract. And we had 7 others during the course of the year prior, partially as a result of the mid-year retirement MOA that you supported. So congratulations to them. It's always fascinating talking to prospective retirees and seeing the emotions that they have and how they're committed to the district. And many of them have a really hard time with stepping down, but they've left it in a better place, and I want to thank every one of them for their time and service to the district. And with that, I guess I have a presentation to present. Okay, I'm going to try to work the tech tonight. Maybe Scott will have to help me, I don't know. Thank you very much for having me present the annual staffing projection presentation. It always seems to meet with this size audience for some reason in March. But it's an important exercise that we go through every year in examining instructional staffing as it relates to enrollment. So tonight I'm going to give you a brief overview of kind of where we were last year, what we saw happen as a result of COVID, how difficult it's been to predict for next year, and then we're really where we are. It's always a collaborative process. As I continuously say the few times I do speak, it's always a collaboration here. We go through a pretty rigorous enrollment analysis to start. We look at 2 different projection softwares, and they take into different data with live birth, cohort survival rate, and it's interesting because some of the live birth data shows us kind of where we're going to be in 5 years. But what we're seeing here in Kenton is that 5 years later, that live birth is pretty low, and I believe that we're seeing a move-in district here in the early years of the students' lives. Some districts have a later move-in. We kind of have an earlier move-in, and then we stay stable. So that's what I've been able to see over 3 years using those enrollment projection software programs. We have multiple meetings with the building leaders. Melanie Kamens and I sit down with Mike Muscarella and Lisa Cross, the respective directors of elementary and secondary education, and we have discussions about what they're looking like with enrollment and then programming. Now, I don't do programming, but I do learn a lot about what is happening in the buildings and what the plan is and how we can kind of break that down into a staffing plan. So everything we do goes through a very rigorous director's review. And it also includes Frank Spagnolo with data and CIO. He helps me with enrollment. I get special ed projection numbers that are updated monthly all year. So there's a lot that goes into this, and then we bring this kind of package around February, March, and say, this is kind of where we are while Assistant Superintendent Marasco works through the budget. So we've undergone that process right now. So here are our assumptions. There's not any anticipated reductions in programming this year, and that's really important for us. We do recognize there's a couple $1 million budget shortfall right now that the whole team is working very diligently on closing. We will stick to the board staffing guidelines as usual. High school courses are always under review. And it's really important to recognize that high school courses are very different Special education staffing is always subject to change, as you know, because of the changing needs of each one of those students. And then we always have adjustments, or we could have adjustments based on final budget. Or in the case one year in Holmes, we had to add a teacher late because we had a massive influx of transitional students who came in late. So we always have that little bit of flexibility as well. So COVID had a significant impact on us. It was a year ago that I presented right before shutdown, and we really didn't know that was going to happen. It was only 4 days, 5 days later we shut down, and then now we're where we are. But enrollment reductions were significantly impacted, and you're going to see kind of how the math plays out and where those spots are. We saw reductions as a result of homeschooling, transfers to non-publics, and non-registration, people actually holding their kids back. And we're not special in this regard. Every district saw this, as you probably well know by now. We do anticipate an enrollment rebound next year in K-1 and probably 2. We don't know what that's going to look like, but we've kind of taken a stab at it. And so I'm going to share a little bit of that with you. So just as a reminder, for those of you that might not know the board guidelines, grades K to 2 are 22 to 24 students, 3 to 4, 24 to 26. And then grade 7, you can see this progressively go up, 26 to 28, and then up to 29. State maximums are 30. We have these guidelines in place to, obviously for a good reason, to keep the class sizes small where we can, and it just leads to better instruction, we think. The minimum class in the high school, though, is 13 to 15. So that's where we start making some adjustments and looking at all those pathways like technology tonight. Well, we may have smaller classes, but we want to offer that rich programming, so you guys have supported as the board smaller class sizes for those electives. So with that in mind, we use those to frame a lot of our discussions with every one of the principals and the directors. I want you to understand, I didn't do this last year, but I wanted to see the actual numbers this year, so I've spent a couple extra slides and a little bit more information on this. We had 66, 56 last year. Which is really robust, and we saw about a 1% uptick. It might be 0.8, it might be 1.3, but we're pretty much at a 1% increase projected over time. So we were supposed to be 66.93. Well, that ended up 62.92 as of just last week, and I think this morning it was 62.99. That's a 6% loss. Obviously, COVID had a big hit. So where did those approximately this says about 400 there for projections, but for reality, where'd those kids go? Well, we're going to see that in a second. We are projecting about 6,600 to return to normal. We just don't know exactly what we're going to see next year, and this has been the challenge of COVID for the staffing. Just to illustrate kind of the timeline or the kind of ebb and flow of each month, what we saw with our enrollments, we were looking pretty good right up until August, and then we just saw a slow decline in change in enrollment to where we currently are. So I kind of wanted to show you that trend data. It's been pretty stable since November, really. The 50 kids, we do see an influx of 50 kids a month. That's pretty typical, so you shouldn't be alarmed by that. But really, the informational months are July, August, and September there. So elementary. Last year, Edison, you can see these numbers here, 582, and we're projected at 615 for this school year. They're actually 545. When you start doing the math between each one of these buildings, you can kind of add up. There's about a 200 net loss here. Well, that's the bulk of our loss of students this year. It's not that they've moved away, obviously. It's that COVID's really impacted some of that enrollment. So for next year, though, we're really looking at kind of creeping back up somewhere in between. And after analyzing this, looking at what we had for students at the beginning of the year and last year, looking at last year's projection models for this year, and then adding up the difference between what we had in August and we actually know withdrawals. We kind of looked at that and then the new projection for next year, and we're kind of somewhere in between. I don't think it'd be responsible for us to go too conservative, and I don't want to overestimate. So we've kind of estimated somewhere in the sweet spot, and it shouldn't have, as you'll see in the class size projections, it shouldn't have a significant impact if we do hit the ceiling. You can see this year's current enrollment. This is obviously as a result of COVID. We have a number of small classes in red. But otherwise, our numbers look pretty healthy. Not too much different here as far as, Franklin's grade 4, but overall, we're a little low, and for obvious reasons. That bears out with the numbers I just showed you in the previous slide. Now, next year, we are projecting bigger and healthier numbers. There's 3 different classes here that are starred or red. Franklin, we anticipate adding a teacher to grade 3 because we anticipate grade 2 being rather large because of the attrition, and we're going to add a teacher because we would be exceeding board guidelines. That's going to be offset by a likely reduction, as you can see, in Holmes. There is a retirement that's on the board docket for your approval tonight from Holmes, that we will likely just reassign that vacancy to the other building. So that's a 0 net. The other Holmes one, we're going to leave that staffed the way it is. Let's just say we leave K1 staffed small. We don't really know what to expect with move-ins at Holmes every year. It's a highly transitional building, as you know, so we're going to leave that right now and expecting that one of those 2 grades will probably need it. So, and then we'll leave that to Mr. Raines as to how he assigns it based on student needs in the enrollment. Middle school, actually, you can see that it didn't change much. You've got about 20 and 30 students there, 25-ish. So that's kind of the next chunk, right? We had about 200 or so in elementary, and now we have about 50 or 60 in middle school. And we're projecting them to pretty, it's surprising how really they didn't move that much in the middle school. Now, as a former middle school principal and teacher, I can understand why maybe the parents wanted to keep them in the building, but in all honesty, we didn't really see much of a hit, and we see this kind of slide in high school as far as the amount of students that didn't come to school or enroll. We're looking pretty typical next year, but we are looking at a little lower because of the incoming cohorts anyway, so this shouldn't be alarming. This is pretty much where we were going to be a couple of years ago. So their current average class sizes are, current, obviously they're a bit lower than usual. You can see those 18s and 19s, but really the 7th grades are teamed up well enough to, and teaming is a prize here, as it should be in the middle school. It really helps offset some of those larger class sizes by making them smaller. So projections really are going to be pretty much stable. There's really not much to tell you about middle school. We're going to pretty much be where we are overall, and the numbers are healthy and comfortable. I wouldn't say 22 is bad. I think that's a really good size as a former middle school guy. Now, high school gets a little more complicated, as you know. We've had a number of areas in the core classes be pretty much within guidelines. We do have a number of classes that fall below guidelines. Now, there are a lot of factors for that and a lot of really good reasons. The amount of sections that we might offer. Sometimes you have to offer an extra section because of the way the kids break down. When we offer we see a finite amount of students having such a large selection that sometimes it thins out those courses and the sections are a little smaller. Sometimes they start on pathways that we don't want to disrupt, so we allow it to continue. And on the buildings, they do a good job of trying to mitigate the small classes by combining them. Cohort size, of course, changes the need. Last year, we saw a reduction in this year we saw a reduction in health at Ken West because we had a smaller cohort of 8s come in. Next year we have another larger cohort of 8s coming in, so we're going to have to increase health. So that again changes the need for your staffing there. Special accommodations again always are impacted their class weight. Special ed always impacts the classroom sizes based on their accommodations. And then program requirements and sequences, obviously, as I just mentioned. IB, one of our gemstones here is, it tends to have smaller class sizes. So that's what does impact the class sizes. Certification requirements make it difficult at times. Special ed's all broken up now, so we have to move people around. We have a hard time finding, although we are a destination district, I will tell you, we have not had a hard time finding any but one this year certification. It's still difficult, though, when we get big outs or unexpected outs in certain certification areas like tech or special ed or science to fill. So we got to kind of keep an eye on the certification requirements. The drop add process can certainly impact the staffing. if we get a number of course requests this year for one course at this point of the year, and we staff based on that, and then drop add hits and we lose a bunch of kids, we may end up having some really small sections. So that does impact staffing. Again, the elective offerings, we do have a lot of competing interests here, and our population in the high school hasn't grown maybe as much as our elective offerings have. Program requirements and sequences again, and then the impact of COVID. We don't know what that's going to mean next year. I mean, there's going to be some trauma left over when we go back. We don't know what that's going to mean for potential staffing needs and maybe the mental health positions. So that's something we're just going to keep an eye on. So Ken East, you can see their enrollment's pretty stable. Really, to be down 65 kids overall approximately from 2018 is pretty good. We did see a bit of a dip, but interestingly enough, the grade 12 is bigger than projected. So I can't explain that, but we're looking pretty much business as usual at Ken East, and I can say the same for West, really. We're looking at 1295, so not much change in the high schools at all. Which is good news, because that allows us to keep our programming and not make a lot of changes at all. And frankly, there's going to be minimal this year, if any. So you can see the average class sizes are well within guidelines, and science has sometimes the benefit of labs, so sometimes they're a little higher, sometimes they're a little smaller. The staffing look back, you'll see the 25 is red there for 2021 and district-wide teacher assignments. We did add an ISS this year. When Superintendent Samato came in, he really saw the need for adding that extra tech coach, and it's worked out very well. So we anticipate keeping that in place next year because we recognize the need, and it's something that we don't want to mess with. So we have a 711 total KTA, with about 25 of them reassigned for district-wide assignments with instructional support specialists, mentors, and et cetera. So what's the takeaway? COVID-19 certainly did have an impact on what we saw with enrollment and trying to actually predict next year, but most notably on K-5. K-2 will be under a very careful watch. We have a couple buildings we won't be able to add teachers to. We just won't. We don't have the physical space, as you know. So I don't know what we're going to do there. We'll have to have some higher level discussions if that happens in one or two of those buildings. Most of the other buildings can accommodate a little bit of an influx, though. Overall, middle school and high school enrollments are consistent, and then the secondary electives are something we're just always keeping an eye on and making sure that the enrollments are close to that 13 to 15. I want to say a note of thanks to Melanie Kamen. She's worked extremely hard to refine this process with me over the last 3 years. The first year it was certainly, she was leading the blind, and that being me, I really didn't know how this animal was going to look. It's a lot more efficient now, and so I really owe her a sincere debt of gratitude. Mr. Muscarella and Ms. Cross have been outstanding support for me because they really consistently explain to me why. And that's really important for me as the non-programming guy to understand, like, why are we doing what we're doing? Why do we need this staffing? And they really keep me between the ditches, so to speak. And then John Cole's been helpful in special ed this year, stepping up to bat, and Frank, as I mentioned earlier, has been critical in his assistance with data daily, practically daily. So does anyone have any questions? No questions? I think I got through in record time this year. Sorry to rush it. If you do have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me. I'm happy to walk you through the information. Thank you. That does conclude my report.
Thank you.
President Chimera, just a closing comment. Thank you very much, Assistant Superintendent Richards. Jeff does an excellent job. Jeff has a very programmatic mind. Sometimes he sells himself short. He has a lot of building level experience, as well as he's a mathematical mind. What Kelly, the trick moving forward is Kelly and her team. Jeff referred to them a lot today. Myself, and then mixing with Nicole and Jeff, really looking to offer the best that we can and that we will, increasing programming in Kenton and doing it through programming. So over the next several years, you saw tonight just in a presentation The presentation wasn't just about electives. The presentation was about programming. The electives then align to the programming, okay? And that's what we'll continue to refine in Kenton. And we'll continue to get the proper programming so that kids have many options, and it's a truly defined and strategic programming so that we see kids like we saw today, whether it be a student moving on from RIT to a profession, to a student just getting a taste of that programming and gives them some guidance for post-secondary. Kelly and her team, along with everybody else on the team, continue to refine, and that's what that programming will look like in the future. So, Jeff, great job as always, and just wanted to close with that. Thank you. President Chimera, with that, we are up to the consent agenda, consensus, and I recommend consent agenda for your and the board approval.
Are there any requests to withdraw any specific items from consensus? Okay, there being none, do I have a motion to approve the consensus agenda?
So moved. Jen.
So moved by Jen,
Second, Leslie.
second by Leslie. Any discussion? Okay, there being none, I call for a vote. All those in favor so signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carried unanimously. All right, item 18 is tenure acknowledgements, but I don't believe we have any this month, do we? Okay.
No, we do not.
So next is our moment of silence. We have actually 4 individuals to recognize this evening, part of the Kenton family. First is Lieutenant Christine Milosic, who was with the Tonawanda Police Department. Arlene Liberty, a retired Lindbergh teacher aide. Bernice Monahan. Bernice is the mother of David Monahan, who's an electrician in our district's Buildings and Grounds Department. And Bridget Origema. Bridget is the mother of Maria Origema, a music teacher at Holmes and Edison Elementary. And Maria is actually married to Michael Hagerty, the assistant principal of Franklin Middle School. Let's just take a moment to honor and keep these individuals and their families in our thoughts. Thank you. Okay, any other items, any other matters for the board? No? Okay, then we do have a need for an executive session this evening. In the matter of discussing, we're adjourned do I have a motion to adjourn to executive session in the matter of discussing the discipline of a particular individual?
So moved. Tom.
By Tom.
Second, Leslie.
Second, Leslie. Any discussion? There being none, I call for a vote. All those in favor so signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we'll adjourn to executive session.
Aye.
Aye.